The event is this week, and someone has dropped weight. She can't get in with an alterationist. She calls you. You have sewing skills. Can you help? Well, of course you can. Don't be afraid of a lined dress with boning there in the side seams of the bodice. I'll show you how to take it in. Now, as you see, I'm working with a razor, but don't be afraid. Everything I do with a razor, pretty much, you can also do with a seam ripper or with nippers. So don't worry about that. But what I'm doing here is I'm working in the underarm area, and I'm just picking apart that understitching that they did that keeps the lining from rolling up. Now, I'm showing you this little illustration. If you can't tunnel up through the skirt layers and easily gain access to the side seams, sometimes you do have to open up that center back lining. It's the center back seam in the train. You have to open it up, make a nice generous slit in there to reach where you need to go. And it's very easy to tunnel in through there and find what you need. And then when you're done, you just sew it back. It's no big deal. I'm still in the unpicking stage. So I'm unpicking here at the waist seam. You can see my little sketch there. Whenever I say the waist seam, that's where I'm talking about. And I've opened all of these seams up at least an inch on each side of the side seams. And I'm going to be taking the dress in that much. It's an inch pinched. So it's a total of 2 inches that we're bringing this dress in. And I'm just going to sew this straight line down. I'm keeping it simple. Sometimes it's not always just a straight inch from top to bottom. It can vary. But in this case, an inch is doing just well. So I'm going to start here at the hip seam. I'm going to start at the waist and taper down this hip seam here, starting at an inch, tapering into that original seam. Now you can open that up and splay it open if you want, or you can gather them together and stack them. For the lining layers, a lot of times you can just go ahead and compress that new seam with the old, sew them together at the waist seam. For the outer layers, I do recommend going ahead and splaying them open, removing that original seam, just splaying them open and letting it be nice and flat. Now here I'm removing the boning. Don't be afraid. You need that out of the way to do your work. We're going to remove it, set it aside, because we're going to put it back in. Open that waist seam again. Again, this is working on the outer layer. We've already taken in that lining layer. It was so easy, right? Going to pick everything free. This one has a pocket. We're not scared of that. It's not going to interfere at all. We're going to be done with our tapering. I'm feeling there, showing you. We're going to be done with our tapering right when we get to the top of the opening of the pocket. So it's nothing to worry about at all. I'm back at the top of the outer layer of the dress. Again, I'm an inch away from that original seam. I'm going to stitch down in a straight line all the way to the waist. And this time I get to show you what I mean by splaying the seams open. I'll show you that in just a minute. Here we're going to take in the hip. We're going to start at the waist, same distance from the original seam, an inch for this dress. And how I knew it was an inch, I just pinched it on the girl, and I knew that's what she needed. Make sure you don't pinch it so hard that you don't pull the dress over to where the zipper crosses across her spine. You want the zipper aligned with her spine, pinch it, and then that gives you your measurement that you're going to take it up. All right, here's that splaying open. I'm going to cut open that original seam. So this way I'm not just going to lay it flat with both seams in there and sew up that waistline like I did with the lining. We can get by with that with the lining sometimes when the lining is very, very thin, such as in this dress. But when you are putting boning back in or working on the outer layers, it's best to go ahead and splay it open. All right, so I'm just laying that boning in there, sewing right through it. This is a Ridgeline sew-through boning. It's a nylon boning, industry standard for most dresses. All right, now I'm going to lay those seams open and sew the waist seam down. Having it open is also going to give that stability to that boning, extra stability, so it can't just be moving around in there. Now I'm working at the underarm. This dress has lots of nice sharp angles, so I'm coming down in a V, but sometimes when it's like a strapless dress and there's not much of a drop to the back, this underarm seam is going to be almost straight or hardly at an angle. But this one is pretty much a V I'm sewing in. So just make sure you don't accidentally grab any other layers of fabric. Take your time there. Turn it right side out. Make sure that pressing is going to solve any issues of wrinkling. And yes, it will. It's laying perfectly flat. Make sure your intersection is all squared up, looking lovely. She's ready to go. Crisis averted. Super easy. Now, I have something for you. I'm going to link to it in the pinned comments. If you want a free Hems identification guide, I have that for you. Just go there and grab that, and it can help you identify any type of hem that you are most likely to encounter with altering formal wear. That way you can search it up to figure out how to sew the hem for someone or for yourself.